Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Road to Grandmaster series. This is episode number 30. In this series, I'm taking you through my behind-the-scenes training, as well as my over-the-board tournament recaps on, as the series name suggests, the Road to the Grandmaster title. It's currently August 7th, 2024. I have a flight in about 5 hours to my third tournament since returning back to competitive play. I started this journey at 2,322 ELO, and in the first two tournaments back, I've gained 48 points. This video, despite my reputation of being clickbaity, is truly a massive announcement. Number one, I will cover a game that I just recently played a couple of days ago, because we always have a chess game in these videos, and that was a big game for me. But number two, and more importantly, I'm announcing my next tournament, and I'm announcing that my next tournament will be covered by my coach, Grandmaster Artur's Nixons. If you have been following this series, this is going to be the first tournament that he live streams the coverage of my game with commentary. And it's going to be my first ever live stream here on YouTube. YouTube is where I have my biggest community. There's over 5.2 million subscribers. I think we're close to 3 billion total views. So every single game of this tournament will be covered on YouTube, as well as the other live streaming platform that we don't have to discuss in this video. And the tournament is in Italy. All information about the tournament, I'll put a link in the description. Some of you watching this might be Italian, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta come visit. You can't really visit the tournament unless you're playing it. There's a lot of people playing. But you know, if you don't live a crazy distance away, you can try to reach there. The tournament schedule is there is a game on the 9th of August, then there are 2 games on the 10th, 1 game on the 11th, 2 games on the 12th, and then 13th, 14th, and 15th, it's 1 game each, and they alternate 9:30 a.m. or 3:30 p.m. Italian time. Okay? That is the announcement. So stay tuned. We're going to see how the YouTube live streams go. Very exciting stuff. There's going to be a live camera feed. There's going to be board. The next tournament, I'm heading back to Europe for a more relaxed playing schedule. The tournament is obviously a little bit longer than it is here. And as dessert for clicking on this video, you get to see a game that I played against none other than Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky. I played this game on yesterday in the Title Tuesday Chess.com tournament. Now, again, this is Road to GM. So I'm showing you all of my progress, the good and the bad. And if you also want to follow this journey in closer detail, like I'm going to be posting vlogs, I'm going to be posting, work that I'm doing behind the scenes on preparation, as well as the lessons I do with my coach. That's all on my Patreon. I'll put a link in the description as well. We have over 900 people on the Patreon. I think maybe just under 900 people. So shout out to them. And we're all in this together. Whether you watch here, whether you watch on the Patreon, YouTube, Twitch, whether you've got courses, no courses, whatever it is, we're all doing this together. Very excited to meet the Italian fans as well. So I played against Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky. Very strong Grandmaster. In my opinion, the best chess commentator. The best. I mean, I know there's David Howell, Judith Polgar, Peter Lecko, Robert Hess. To me, he is the best. Also very good player. And our record is, we've played many, many games of Hyper Bullet and Bullet. You know, I've won some games, but very limited in Blitz. He played the Sicilian Defense, and I played A3. This is actually a course that I have. I have this course on Chessly. I'll put a link in the description. I'll put a link in the description to everything. But I've got a course on my website on Chessly on the A3 Sicilian. He plays G6. And what you do here with white is you don't play b4 anymore because he's going to beat you to this diagonal. You play knight c3, bishop c4, and then you drop the bishop back, especially if your opponent has indicated that they'd like to play d5, bishop a2, knight e7. And in this position, sometimes I like to wait, but once I see that this knight is there and not on f6, the knight no longer controls h5, so this is actually a very standard plan of attack in these positions. Now, in this game, I waited a second, Before doing that, I played knight to e2 first. It doesn't really matter, but there is a very famous game that I actually did cover on this channel ages ago. It was Magnus versus Hikaru, and they played the exact same way. d6, h4, and Danya plays h5. Now, I'm very slightly worse here, but for a human standpoint, it's not that easy to, to capitalize on that, let's say. Especially from the black side. The point of h4 is that I would like to play h5 and start my attack. If black plays h6, I can continue to try to target the pawn. If black plays h5, they give me the dark squared outpost for my bishop. f6 is kind of an overcommittal move. You notice that the advantage is immediately +1 for white. That's because while this move did attack the bishop, it blocked this bishop and it weakened 2 pawns and you can't go backwards. So he played, he didn't do that. He played a6, which is a very standard move. I played castles here. It's okay to do that, even though my pawn is on h4. He doesn't really have a lot of ways to mobilize. And so here I had to come up with a plan. And generally, you know, the difference between myself and a 3118 rated grandmaster is that over the course of time, they're going to outplay you. I mean, it's the same difference between me and 23 and 2400 rated players. You know, like that rating gap, you start outplaying people. Now here I was very happy. I played queen d2. So first of all, I have ideas of bishop h6 should he ever castle. Also, I have another plan here, which I came up with in this game. And it's a plan where, you know, it's kind of like the exception to the rule. I frequently on this channel say things like, you shouldn't go backwards. Eight times out of 10, it's not the right thing. Well, sometimes you got to take a step backwards to take 2 steps forwards. And I found this nice idea, knight to d1. Now, unfortunately, I spent 26 seconds on that move, but sometimes in a blitz game, you do need to think. I played knight d1, and my plan was very simple. I'm protecting this, and my knight had no journey forward, and now I'm going to play c3 and d4. So I need central pawn presence, or else I'm not going to be able to do much in the game. It's an example of pawn play. He plays bishop b7, I play pawn to c3, and he plays knight to e5. Now, I know Naroditsky, all right? He's trying to get a move like c4 on the board. So, for example, he's combating my move d4 because he wants to go here, and now he's going to have this, so I'm gonna have to go here, and the computer thinks I'm better, but somehow I'm not that convinced. And I was very happy with the move here that sort of popped out to me very quickly, which stops a lot of his ideas, which is this move f3. It's not a very, like, spectacular move, but it very much is a, listen, Hikaru called it a very good move, so, you know, you guys can you know, shove it. But the point is that you put 3 pawns counteracting this bishop. You also counteract the knight, and even though you weaken the squares a little bit, none of these pieces can really do much, and now d4's coming, and that was sort of my point, and it might even not be d4 right away. I might play knight e3, might play knight f2. Knight e3 I have to be careful, because then my bishop could get trapped in some positions, but it is what it is. And now, you know, after playing knight e5, I was very happy here to see knight d7, and I figured Daniel was a little hesitant here. I mean, he's clearly not, like, he's not playing with a plan. I mean, knight e5, f3, now he drops the knight back to get out of the way of d4. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time here. I just played d4 because that was clearly my entire point. And over the last, I would say, 4 moves from this position, you'll notice that his pieces really didn't do much. I've made a lot of progress. But here he plays this move d5. This is a Danya move. I mean, he's trying to fight back. He's not just going to get, you know, slowly squeezed and pushed and pressured. But I had a feeling the speed at which that, you know, this move kind of arrived on the board, he didn't like his position very much. And you can't really open the center with a king there. It just doesn't make sense. So here I did what I thought was very natural. I saw that he's only got a king protecting the knight. And I thought, well, I want to open the position. But first, I should force the king to not be able to castle, right? Like, you shouldn't really trade a bishop for a knight, but if it destabilizes the center and opens up the position, you probably should. Now, the engine here just wants me to lock it up. I get it, but this doesn't really strike me as that natural. He has a lot of space as well. Another thing it wants to do is just to keep the tension. It wants to play knight f2 and not rush. But then I don't know. I mean, he'll play f6 now, and now, okay, I'll have to draw back. I mean, maybe he can even play like king f7 and slowly. But yeah, the computer thinks that I'm just much better here because I'm going to play e5. And yeah, I mean, maybe in classical, but in blitz, I was like, wait a minute. We're just going to force the king in the middle and do this and play knight f4, and I'm just attacking the pawn on d5. I'm attacking the pawn on d5, I'm going to play here, and I'm going to play rook e1. So I thought I'm giving up the dark squared bishop, but I'm getting a whole lot for it, and that pawn's just hanging. Now, the engine here for black, in my defense, says king f8, stupid. And I'm like, what? Just lose the pawn. Point being that if I take it, and he takes it, and I take it, allowing the rook to hang, here black is better. Which I gotta tell you, for a blitz game, yeah, I mean, maybe as a human, you know, in a long game, you go, oh, you know, yeah, black has a lot of counterplay here, and actually, you know, white's got some weaknesses, and yeah, but in a blitz game, I was like, come on, and you know, if he played bishop h6 here, my plan was to give him a check and win his pawn anyway, but still king f8, and then the computer still thinks that black is better, so. Yeah, and that's kind of an example of why being patient makes sense. But when Danya played this move, suddenly I was like, oh, we're in good shape. We're in good shape. We're cooking now. Why are we cooking? Because we're going to bring the knight. We're going to bring the knight. We're attacking the pawn on d5, and I'm veiling that this knight is hanging, right? So I block my defense, because if he takes, I go here anyway, and it's not just a fork. It's a discovered attack. And I'm winning his queen. So here, you know, once I saw that Danya locked this, I was very happy, because when you're trying to attack somebody, you prefer the center to be locked, since there is not a lot of ways to create counterplay. And now what I'm gonna do is, as I understood, I'm gonna rotate the play to this side of the board and start an attack. And again, I'm also happy I'm keeping up on the clock. One more thing, by the way, which I have not mentioned. I should have mentioned this at the very beginning, but I'm mentioning it now, and the people that clicked off the video before 11 minutes will never know about this. I knew who I was playing in this game. Some of you may be like, what are you talking about? You always know who you're playing. No. Recently, what I've been doing is I added a Chrome extension, and I remove the name of my opponent and their ELO and their title and all. It's just blank. And that's how I've beaten Hans Niemann, for example, and a couple of other, you know, good players. For this tournament, I kept it on. I wanted to know who I was playing, because I wanted to test what would happen with my nervous system. So I knew who I was playing. You know, that's another key detail which Hikaru didn't know. When I saw his recap, I saw his kind of analysis of the game, and I was like, actually, for this tournament, I kept it on. And well, you're going to see how the game turned out, but yeah, there was comments like, you should have kept it off. Well, I can't keep it off in all my tournaments. The point of removing who I'm playing, like playing on focus mode or Zen mode or whatever, it's to not know who you're playing so you don't stress out. But in an over-the-board tournament, you have to know who you're playing, because you got to know what board to show up and who who your opponent is. But the point of doing all this anonymous playing is to just get the confidence up. It's not to hide who I'm playing against. Now, with all that in mind, I played pawn to g3. I put this knight on g2. I thought this was a really clever reroute. And look at this. I put all my rooks on this side of the board. I've got a solid structure. Bishop is on b1. He plays king g7. And here I have a winning idea. But I didn't see it. You see, what I was looking for here is various forms of sacrifice. So I calculated bishop g6. I didn't think bishop g6 worked because, for example, queen g6. And if I take the queen, he can take on d2, right? Now, bishop g6 is actually still okay. There is a move here which is really, really strong, which I never considered. I never considered this move because mentally, I was just like, this is frozen. This is kind of very solid. And, you know, my strength is obviously on the E file and this target, so I got to do something. But actually, it's g4, and g4 is just dead. Like, black is dead because I'm threatening g5, which just wins the game. If he takes, not only am I threatening g5, I now have an open rook. So the position has gotten even worse for black. And if he plays bishop f4, I take with a knight. And, you know, the position is like +4. I'm not sure I would have been able to exactly figure out why it's +4. For example, here, yeah, it's knight h5 check. I mean, that's not easy. It's maybe easy for the best players in the world. I'm pretty damn good, but, you know, sometimes you have to tread a very fine line. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to triple up. So I'm mega pinning myself, but my plan was queen here, rook here, triple stack. We have 19 points of material going down the E file, and guess what? It worked. Because he surrendered the e-file to me, and now I'm ready to infiltrate with my queen. I've got all my pieces ready to go. Danya goes here, and he blunders, and I'm totally winning. And I know I'm totally winning, and I find bishop takes g6. Now this works. You see, his pieces are out of the game. The only source of counterplay that he has, literally the only one, is my pawn here. So knight a4, and the bishop can go to c1 in the future. And I was very vigilant. Now, why is bishop g6 winning? If he takes with the queen now, I get out of this. Oops, I get out of this by giving a check. And I'm still threatening the queen. If he goes here, I go check, and I win the rook. You know, so he's going to lose a lot of material here, and I have a totally winning position. So bishop g6, he has to go here. Now I play queen e7 check. He has to trade with me. If he goes here, I'm actually going to win his knight instead, so that now his bishops are totally blocked, which is why he plays king to g8. And at this point, I'm like, okay, Mr. Gotham, focus. You are completely winning, and you're up on time. But the one thing that he has is this pawn. So if he goes knight a4 here, I take on g6, he takes on b2, but this is really not it. I'm going to give him a check, probably put the knight on f5, put this knight in, like it's very dangerous. So he plays knight c8, and I'm like, oh my God, I know I'm completely crushing here, right? So at this point, I can obviously make simple improvements. I can play knight e3, targeting this pawn, forcing this trade. I can also take on g6. I do see that that pawn is free. The reason I don't go here is I'm scared of bishop c1. And it didn't really occur to me that really is not a threat at all because of this. And if he takes, yeah, he's dead. He's absolutely dead. Like, he's completely dead. And I should have just been like, is this really a thing? And the truth is, if I was playing somebody lower rated than me, I think I would have taken on g6. And that's hard. I don't like that reality, but I'm trying to beat him without letting him get anything at all. But this is nothing. This is kind of an illusion. Now, I didn't play a bad move. I just pinned the knight to the rook. He can't move his knight or rook now. He goes here. I play king f2. And he gambles. He just gambles here. I mean, he basically gives up this pawn with check. Now, for reasons I cannot fully explain, I didn't take it. I didn't take it because what I calculated here is I go here, now he goes here, and now, oh my God, I have to stop this, and now my rook is trapped. But it's not. But it's not trapped. Now, I also don't even have to do that. I can play something else. But again, I was like, oh... And I believed his bluff, like in poker, so I went knight e3. And the reason I went knight e3 is now he doesn't have a bishop. So now I'm in the clear. Now we're good. Now everything's fine. Goes king d6. And probably here, I should sneak out with my rook. It's time. Instead of that, I play f5, and I make it unnecessarily complicated because suddenly he's trapping my rook. All right, suddenly he's trapping my rook. I thought I'm in time here to escape because it's blitz. You think stupid things. f5, not a good move, right? Like, what I should do here is even rook a8 is an easy move. But nerves, right? You start getting a little bit nervous. Now I play f5. He goes king c7. I have a feeling that even though I'm going to get my rook trapped, I'm still fine. Because I can go here, here, and here. And I was like, hold up. I have a lot. I mean, these pawns are really strong. And my king is on the way. He goes king d7. But now I've got 7 seconds on the clock. I quickly race my f pawn up the board. He goes king e6. I play f5, and I'm in time. And I'm thinking, well, this is nice because I'm going to walk my king up the board. And then I'm just going to reposition my knight somehow. Maybe I can even play g7. So, for example, here, 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 maybe even g7 here, you know, some king e5, but I don't have to rush. I'm doing fine. He plays rook e8. And I've got 5 seconds on the clock, right? So rook e8 is really sneaky because I can't take his pawn because he's going to take my pawn. So I go to defend my pawn. He goes check. I come back. Now, at this point, he can maybe take on h4, by the way, maybe, and just bring the rook back to g4. He chooses not to because if he goes for this, at the end of this sequence, I can queen and I can win his rook. So he doesn't take on h4, and instead what he does is he goes back. And again, why would I take the pawn on d5? I'm gonna lose both pawns. So I go here. I have 3 seconds. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then we repeat moves and we make a draw. But what I had missed is when he played rook e8, multiple times he played rook e8, I actually can take his pawn. What I had missed was if takes and I run away, he has no way to stop me. So if he plays king here, I queen, and then I fork him, and this is a winning king and pawn endgame. That I saw. I also saw if this, I fork him, but what I had completely forgotten, and I didn't see in the 3 seconds that I had, was after it takes, here, g7, I saw king e6. And in my mind, I saw king e6. If I give a check, oh my God, he's stopping my pawn. But I forgot he can't do that. Can't go here because I have this. So I have a fork even that direction. So I have 1 fork, 2 forks, and a fork the other way. And when I saw that that he can stop my pawn, I just said, well, I have to repeat moves. This is ridiculous. You have to remember, I don't have the eval part. So I got 5 seconds, and I don't see anything besides this. Taking this could lose me the game because I lose one of my pawns, and maybe both, so I made the draw. And I wasn't disappointed in this game that much because I actually thought I played very well. I believed his counterplay a little bit too much. I believed that, you know, if I went all in, you know, he would have some counterplay. But I got to be honest with you, I've played games before where I rush in and all of a sudden the counterplay is underestimated, and it's not that easy to make these decisions with limited time on the clock. I've been disappointed and upset in games before, but games like this show me I can outplay some of the best speed players in the world. I mean, I wouldn't call Danya one of the best, chess players overall, but I do call him a top 3, top 5, 3-0 blitz player in the world. 1-0 probably top 5 as well. I mean, he is really, really fast, really, really good. And sometimes I do give him a really good game. I've beaten him before, but not this time. And it felt kind of nice to play a game like this. Of course, later I lost to some people lower than me, and that's Title Tuesday, and that's life. But that's your update video. I hope you enjoyed this one. A little bit heartbreaking, but I will probably continue to alternate whether I have the extension on or off. My Italian tournament begins on August 9th. Link in the description to check it out. First YouTube live stream coming up. That's all I've got for you today. And if you want to check out the A3 Sicilian E4 course on Chessly, get out of here. Forgot where my key was. No, but seriously, get out of here.